when I got the Master Key, I paid $750 for it at around the same time as I did this course with Paul Meyer. I did the Master Key course first. It was $750, and because of that, I did the exercises in the thing every day. And the Master Key, I mean, you can buy the Master Key right now. You can go to a bookstore and buy it, you know. It looks like a book. But the first thing that it says in there, at least in the copy that I had, I haven't looked at it lately, but the first thing it said is, this is not a book. This is a course. You need to do these exercises every day. And so there's 26 lessons. And so you do one a week for 26 weeks, 6 months. And that's what I did. Because I was terrified, because I needed, you see, Anthony Robbins says, if you want to change your life, you either need desperation or inspiration. Well, I was desperate, you know. And because of that, I was terrified of not getting it. You know, I mean, I was sold this course that was based on the Master Key. I didn't even know that the Master Key was available as a book. I had no idea that it was even called the Master Key. I took a course from this person, and he had the Master Key all printed up, and he had recordings of it, and he had exercise sheets and things, much the same as I've done with my online program there. And so I was convinced that this was the thing that was going to change my life. And I was absolutely terrified to miss one day, one exercise, you know, because I thought if I missed a day, that might be the thing, you know. And what they found with neuroplasticity, by the way, is that if you do something every day, and I'll tell you what it is in a minute, but there's a certain thing that if you do it every day, they can measure changes in your brain in about 30 days. But if you do it for 5 days and then stop, and then do it for another 5 days and stop, and then do it for another 5 days and stop, and then another 5 days and stop, at the end of 30 days, there's no changes in the brain. So it's like you got to do it every day, right? And what it's called, the secret to it, and this is what Tara Swart says, controlled attention. Controlled, focused attention. You might say controlled, repetitive, focused attention. So in other words, you gotta focus on something. You gotta focus your attention on something, and you gotta do it every day without fail, right? And you can do it like an affirmation, like I said. I'm a person who exercises my mind every day. You know, focus on that, get the truth of it, let it sink into your brain and into your bones, and your self-image changes. And once your self-image changes, then it becomes part of your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind takes over, and you don't have to do it anymore consciously. It just happens. Oh yeah, I'm one of those people. I exercise every day. I exercise my brain every day, you know. So that's the secret, right? Is that repetitive, focused of your attention. That's what does it. And a lot of people say, well, it takes 21 days to form a habit. There's no evidence for that anywhere. I've looked for it. Other people have looked for it. Nobody knows where that comes from. It may have been a casual remark that somebody made years ago in a book or something. But there's no evidence, there's no proof of any kind that it takes 21 days. As a matter of fact, John Kehoe, my buddy who taught mind power for years, he says minimum of 90 days. If you're going to work with an affirmation, he says do it for 90 days. If you don't do it, do it for 3 weeks and miss a day, start again at 0 and go for 90 days. He said, you do that, your life will be transformed. But if you do it for 3 days here and a week there and a couple days here and then an hour there, and he said, forget it. You're not going to have any personal power, you know. And Tara Swart says, depending on what it is you're working on, in order to get neuroplasticity working for you, she said it might take a month, it might take 6 months, it might take a year, depending on what it is you're working on, right? So you get something like the imposter syndrome. If that's deeply embedded in your psyche, or for example, for me, one of the things that I've been working on since I was 10 is fear of criticism and rejection, you know? That's so deeply embedded in my mind, man. It comes up all the time. I'm better at it now. I have a few antidotes to deal with it, like Michael was saying. You know, remind yourself, why am I doing this? Why is it important? I'm going to do this talk. You know, I'm feeling nervous. I'm worried about making a screw up. Forget that. Just plow ahead, you know. And so some things take a year, you know. Like I have a situation in my life. I have a thing that I went through in the 90s that was traumatic for me. And some of the people that were involved in that thing, if I can, you know, in a sense, say they did it to me, you know, they did it to me, right? It took me literally years of working on it before I finally was able to go, okay, if I look at it this way, the pain goes away. No anger, no resentment, no feeling of being ripped off, cheated, you know, being a victim, right? But it took me literally years of thinking about it, different angles, using different affirmations and things, you know, before now when I think about those people, it's like I feel proud, you know, because I look at it a different way. But to find that way to look at it, to find that angle, you know, to look at it, and the meaning, changing the meaning of it, that took me years. I mean, for years I went through emotional pain, turmoil, and trauma, you know, about that situation. And so if it's important, you'll do it. If you want to change it, you know, if you want to get rid of it, whatever it is, fear, you know, anxiety, worry. We talked about worry, right? So yeah, so the Master Key, I highly recommend it. It's a great book. You know, if you don't do the exercises, if you just read it or listen to it for the information, it's fabulous. You know, it was written in 1916. Still sold. I was watching a movie about it the other day. You know, people are investing heavily in a course based on the Master Key. So highly recommend it. So that's the thing. Neuroplasticity, repetition, repetition, repetition. So you do these affirmations and things that we talk about in this program, writing down your past successes, thinking of your past successes, you know. One of my expressions that I say is your power is only one thought away. And it's true. But to find that thought, sometimes, like I just described, it might take you a while. You know, it might take you years. Think about a golfer trying to get rid of his slice, you know. People work on getting rid of their slice, man, for, you know, they pay thousands of dollars and their hands bleed swinging the golf club because they want to get rid of their slice. It's the same deal, you know. If you want to get rid of your mental slice, that your mind always goes, whoop, you know, what could go wrong here? Oh, people could laugh at me and criticize me. There's your mental slice, you know. Now, there's an expression I've never used before, but it's perfect, I think. You know, it's like whenever I think about doing something, whoop, my mind goes there. Coach, what do I do? You know, use this affirmation. Think about it every day for 15 minutes for 90 days, you know, and see what happens. So it's not understanding. You see, here's the problem, right? People read a book and they go, oh, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. That's not what it's about. You understand everything. You're a native English speaker. You understand every word that I say. So if I say, practice visualizing this every day for 90 days, you go, yeah, okay, I understand that. But it's not about understanding it, it's about doing it. Right? You do it. You do it every day for 90 days, and then you might go, oh, okay, yeah, now I get it. Now I get it, right? There was a famous pianist, I can't remember his name, Horowitz perhaps, and somebody said, he was like in his 80s, and he used to practice every day on the piano, doing scales and things every day, right? And somebody said, well, you're 80 years old, why in the heck do you practice every day? Haven't you practiced enough? And he said, if I miss practice for a week, the audience can tell. But he said, if I miss practice for one day, I can tell. So that's the mindset, right? It's like, don't miss practice. Be a warrior. We talked about transforming yourself from a worrier to a warrior. That was Phil came up with that. I think it's great. You got to be a warrior, man. You want to get rid of that slice, you got to attack it like a warrior. You got to go at it, and it's serious business. You want to change your life, it's your life. You can either have excuses or you can have results. You can't have both. For more information about this online community, to get your own copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, either the ebook, the paperback, or the audiobook, go to mindtimeandpower.com, where you can also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook.